Hello, this is Smooth Traffic. Smooth Traffic, we're horny. Horny, horny, horny. In this episode, we're going to be talking about our very own personal 5-car garage in which I'm reduced to tears. We're also going to be talking about how I've revolutionised the Sunday roast, perfected it. It can now never be topped. I've done it. We've also got another facts from the fax machine, and the return of Deadliest Boot Spaces. Ooh. Well, it's that time again. It's time for
Deadliest Boot Spaces,
the greatest game show ever devised. It's incredible. 6 litres of water. I think it's 6, isn't it, King?
Yep.
6 litres of water is enough to kill you if you drink it in one go, all at once. Try it. You'll die. And boot spaces are measured in litres. So how dangerous is a boot space? Well, very dangerous as it turns out. And today we are comparing one fluid space with the fluid space of a boot. And as it turns out, the fluid space of a boot we're comparing is the BMW X2. It's a new car and it has a boot. So it's a new car with a boot, and we're comparing the number of litres that the BMW X2 can hold with the amount of dog piss passed by 814 dogs over the space of 24 hours.
What? Was that 814 or 840?
814 dogs.
814?
Yep. The amount of piss passed by those dogs over the space of 24 hours.
I don't know why I'm asking this. Any particular size of dog?
That's a very good point. I'm there thinking, what, half a litre? But actually,
I'm thinking like a St. Bernard is going to chuck out a lot more than a Chihuahua.
Well, I actually did some research for this.
That doesn't surprise me, John.
So I didn't know this off the top of my head. It's research that I've done, so it could be incredibly awful. I read a veterinary book using Google Books, or whatever it's called, where you search for stuff and then you have a book arrive and you know, it points out words and stuff.
Reading. Okay,
reading,
we get the concept.
Let's call it reading.
I think we've all done it.
The ancient art of reading. And basically it gave me a scale of piss passed through 24 hours of dog species in general.
Okay.
So this is an average across all dogs?
Yes, so 2 figures at opposite ends, and so I added them together and divided them by 2, because I figured that's how averages work. So I've got an average figure for piss passed by dogs generally over the course of 24 hours. I can tell you what that figure is if you like, because I don't think it'll make any difference to how you guess this.
Well, surely if you tell us the figure and then we multiply it by 814, will that not give it away?
But you don't know exactly what the size of a BMW X2 is, so...
I think we've got a better chance of guessing that than we have 814 dogs pissing.
Is the average like 300 mil? Oh, is it a day? No, they'll piss more than once a day, won't they?
Yep.
Oh, damn it.
So it's over 24 hours. The average
Actually,
amount
a litre, that'd be an obscene boot space, wouldn't it, if there was 800 litres? Or is it? I can't remember. It's been a while since we've done this.
That's the thing with Deadliest Boot Spaces. It's such a brilliant game show. You just don't know. It's impossible to know the answer. Nobody will ever know the answers unless there's some sort of brilliant, class-leading vet listening to this podcast who owns a BMW X2.
I suppose that's not impossible.
Well, anyone with intelligence listening to this podcast probably unlikely.
Touche.
I think unlikely anyone's actually listening at all.
Yeah, true. What is the point in smooth traffic?
Let's not go down this road again. So the average amount of urine passed by 814 average dogs.
Yep.
Over the course of 24
hours.
Versus the boot space of a new BMW X2.
Yep.
Brilliant.
24 hours. I mean, how many times do they go in 24 hours?
Don't know, I've never had a dog. I've never watched one either.
I'm going to go with the dogs being more deadly. Because dog piss tastes worse than water in a boot. So.
I haven't calculated for poison, by the way.
I was going to say, yeah. There's probably a lot of ammonia in it.
I'm just assuming that these dogs are passing pure water. They're like hydrogen cars. Only give off water. Amazing dogs.
Well, in which case I'm going to have to go with the BMW, but I think you might be right, Ben. 814 dogs.
I like the way you hedge your bets.
No, I'm taking the BMW, but I think you're going to win this one and claw 1 point back against my monumental lead.
Yes, King does currently have a large lead at the moment. He currently leads by 8 points to 3. So, Ben, this is getting quite important now. You need to start winning. So, here are the results of the amount of dog piss passed by 814 average dogs over the space of 24 hours versus the boot space of a BMW X2. Dog piss. So, 814 dogs will pass an average of 0.71 litres over the course of 24 hours. So that gives something like 577.8 or something like that. So I said 578 litres, basically. If you had 814 dogs, you would produce 578 litres of piss daily. That is a lot of deaths. I don't have my calculator to hand, but King, you're like a human calculator, so 578 divided by 6 is probably, what, 100, roughly?
Yeah, knock off about 3 to 4. So yeah, 96, 97 deaths.
That's a lot of deaths. So you would die that many times over if you drunk 814 dogs' piss. The BMW X2 has 470 litres of boot space, so the dogs are much more deadly than the BMW X2 by about 108 litres, as it turns out. So yeah, if you want a place to keep things, buy 814 dogs.
No, that's not right.
Because if they're pissing more than once a day, they're running out of storage space. You're going to have to get like 2 or 3 dogs per dog, as it were.
I can't imagine the amount of piss these dogs produce. That's outrageous.
Yeah, but obviously what we're saying, John, is that your 814, they can only piss once a day if you use them as storage. So you'd need like 2 or 3 times that if you were going to physically use them for storage, which would be incredibly unethical anyway. Because they're dogs.
What are you going to store in them anyway?
Exactly.
You can fit your shopping in a boot, but you can't really fit your shopping in a dog.
You're going to store champagne in a dog.
Yep.
Then you would have to drink it straight from the dog. You're not thinking this through.
Drink it straight from the dog. Oh my goodness. That is a hell of an image right there. So yeah, thanks for listening to this episode of Deadliest Boot Spaces. Yeah, dogs piss a lot. But
good consumer advice.
I think most of you know that. What's the score? Robert King 8. Ben Pierce
4.
So some people have accused Smooth Traffic of talking a load of shit.
Who? Who are these people?
Well, these people are...
I need names.
Well, whoever they are, King, they can fuck off, because we're actually going to talk about poo right now. Because inspired by the events of my bowels just the other day when I seemed to be farting at a ridiculous velocity, a velocity as yet unknown to humankind, the kind of velocity that actually was a bit scary, I started thinking about poo. As it turns out, I also went for a walk in the park on the same day.
Is this going to make the episode?
Oh yeah, it'll make the episode, King. Yeah, it'll make the episode. Well, hopefully.
You say that, I do the editing.
Yes, I just remembered. And I was in the park on the same day that this unusual farting was commencing, and I suddenly remembered whatever happened to white dog poo. Now, to a normal human being, a white dog poo looks a bit like a golf ball from long range, but it is not.
Long range? How far away are you spotting these things?
So...
Oh, I don't know what's happening.
So, I was thinking about what happened to white dog poo, basically. And I did a bit of research. And right now, on my laptop, there is a page open.
Oh, Jesus.
Well, let me just read the headline. Whatever happened to white dog poo? Valid question. basically, back in the day, it only seemed to be like the 1990s when white dog poo was around for some reason. I don't see any white dog poo anymore. I'm nostalgic. White dog poo doesn't exist anymore for real reasons. And that is basically all revolving around a little ingredient we like to call calcium. And that's obvious when you think about it, isn't it? Because calcium is white. And that's why dogs used to poo white. So back in the day, dogs used to eat meat and bones, basically. Quite raw product. And basically those are very rich in calcium. So after a few days, well, on day one, the dog does a shit in your park and annoys everybody and gives children lots and lots of health problems. But after a few days, the water and the sort of organic side of the poo has gone. And so what remains of the poo is dry, hard, white calcified poo, basically. So it's the calcium left over. That's why there was white dog poo. But today's dogs are fed from sort of bagged food and tin cans and, packets of stuff, with the occasional, I don't know, you might throw a hot dog on the floor for the dog or something like that if you've got one just lying around. I don't know what you feed dogs. And those aren't natural, so they're not sort of high in calcium. So that's why most dog poos these days are incredibly runny and brown. So that's the reason why there isn't white dog poo anymore. Dog diets have changed in the last couple of decades.
I have several points on this. First one, why the hell are we talking about this?
This is Johnny's first attempt at explaining science to us.
Okay.
So let him have it.
Okay.
It might be about poo, but at least he's done some research.
Okay, second point then.
Yep.
What you've described to me, John, just makes me think that in the 90s, and I'll come on to that point in a minute, but in the 90s, people just didn't clean up their dog turds. Because what you're saying is that it takes several days for it to go white. So all we're saying now is that people are just cleaning up after their dogs much more efficiently. And that's why we don't see it.
I used to visit a town called Ilfracombe, which I have described as the town that sea erosion can't claim quickly enough. And there was one particular street where there was so much dog poo, a local person used to go out with a can of spray paint and spray around the dog poo. And the council had to resurface the pavement.
Well, my second point then, John, or rather my third point after questioning the whole...
Can I guess what it is?
You can guess.
Well, I thought you were going to ask me, if dogs ate nothing but carbon, would they poo diamond poos?
No, I wasn't going to ask you that, John. I don't think anyone was thinking of that question. Am I to take that features in the article that you've read?
No, it's just something I thought of off the top of my head.
Right, okay. So you're suggesting that the digestive system of a dog would manage to convert pure carbon into diamonds?
If only. If only, King. Imagine it.
What I was going to say was, you say that we haven't had white dog poo since the 90s, and admittedly, I don't think I've ever seen white dog poo.
Really?
But it featured in a film in 2008.
Oh, yeah.
Have you seen the film Step Brothers with Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly?
I have. I like that film.
Yes, there is a whole segment in that where the children bully them into licking the white dog poo.
Oh, can we do that to Ben?
So it was certainly around in America till at least 2008.
But was that film actually filmed in period, King? Was it actually set in the 1960s?
I don't think it was a period drama.
Was it actually set in 1972, perhaps, or maybe 1988?
No.
Do you have those facts to hand, King? Because I have a web page here, and that web page clearly tells me about white dog poo. You're going off your admittedly shaky memory of movies. I
mean, I don't think that's entirely true. I've got the IMDb page up for Step
Never heard of it.
IMDb.
Never heard of it.
In the last episode, we talked about our 5-car garage I didn't pick one, but the guys picked one many, many years ago. And choices were fairly decent. What we thought we'd do is pick a 5-car garage of cars that we've actually owned between the three of us. And there's about 20 cars on the list, and I think most of them are terrible.
Oh, that's a bit unfair. A good wedge of them belong to your wife, so...
Yeah, Ben.
That's true.
You fucking oyster card. You're a walking oyster card, Ben.
So yes, Rob, do you want to talk us through your cars that you have owned?
Yeah, quite happily.
Yeah, he's listened to him bang on about his Rover for 20 minutes now.
The love affair started with a 1993 Ford Fiesta 1.1i Meridian trim, which was affectionately known as the Jag, and I remember the excitement of getting a CD player fitted into it, a Pioneer CD player.
Well, do you have a record player before that, King?
It was a cassette player, wasn't it, John? How many cars have you seen that have got a record player built in? You fucking idiot. Jesus Christ.
To be fair, that's about the same level of tech as you've got in your latest car, isn't it? CD player, so.
Yeah, no, but it's built in.
Fancy.
Yeah, so that Fiesta was fantastic. It took Ben and I all the way to Rome.
With the heating on.
And then back via Bordeaux.
Why was the trim named after the former division of ITV? That used
that
to do
much I could never figure out.
The news and stuff.
Because the logo was exactly the same as well. So I really don't know.
ITV sponsored.
So you had a Ford Fiesta sponsored by ITV?
That's how much of a deal I was back then. Kind of a big deal.
He was kind of big. Right, what's your next car, King?
That was followed by my Alfa Romeo 145 Junior, which was an absolute delight and a pain in the arse at the same time. I had that for 3 or 4 years.
It was running for 6 months of that 3 years, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a good. I reckon at least 7 months. Yeah, 4 figures on every MOT, which was a shit.
Oh dear.
So I'd probably be a lot better off now if I hadn't owned that car.
That's just a copy-paste Alpha owner statement, though, isn't it?
I remember you sending us the copy of the MOT certificate, like the advisories on like 3 pages.
Yeah.
Terrible.
And that was the best number plate you've ever had as well, King, because it said on it. That's exactly what you are.
It was. Yeah. S566 UNT.
Is it still on the road?
No, I don't think so.
What a stupid question. Is it still on the road?
Alright, calm yourself down, John. Best car I've ever owned. Then that was followed by a Rover 25. Yeah, that was a Rover 25.
They were notorious for having their head gaskets go, weren't they, King?
The head gasket went, yeah.
Wasn't it?
The most frustrating thing about that was
you were going to the garage, weren't you?
No, I booked it in to have the head gasket done. Because it was just the sensible thing to do. I was noticing a bit of peculiarity under the bonnet. But anyway, so I booked it in, and a week before it was going into the garage, I was driving to work, and it was in the winter, and it had snowed, so it was absolutely freezing. And I was driving into work, and there was just smoke billowing out from under the bonnet on one of the coldest days of the year. And it turned out that the water system was filling with oil, which was a real treat.
Oh, I think that's the first time I've been reduced to tears on this podcast. Is it still on the road? Fucking hell.
Alright, get over it, John.
Oh, Christ.
So the Rover 25 was a bit knackered as well, King. Never shitter.
No, the Rover 25, it was a decent car for what I needed it to be, which was my daily commute. Other than the head gasket, it didn't really give me any big problems like the Alfa had beforehand, so it was quite a nice change.
It was sky blue though, wasn't it?
Duck egg blue, I believe is the term you'd use. Had a certain femininity to it.
Horrendous. Alright, and your current car obviously
and
is
now I've
Alpha,
got the Alfa Mito, which
things fall off of.
Things don't fall off of, Ben.
King, that is the only car I can break stuff off
The only
with my
thing that
bare
falls
hands.
off is when John's adjusting the seat with his fucking gorilla hands and decides to overwork the... Anyway, we won't get into it.
What happened on my wedding day when you opened the door and something fell off and you put it back and said, "Don't tell Jonny"?
No, that was that, wasn't it?
No, that was on the driver's side.
Something fell out on the driver's side.
Yeah. Something fell off the chair, off the seat. I can't remember. It was a busy day.
I don't remember that. It was more likely to be the passenger side, because although John does have a habit of tearing that adjustment lever off, it does happen to fall off on its own sometimes. So, but yeah, thanks, Ben. Where's the code of conduct there?
I've got to laugh now because now I've gotten a bath. It's only a matter of time, innit?
Yeah, exactly. You've joined the club now, John. You brought this on yourself.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I'm not going to tear into you, John, because I know what you're going to be dealing with. And I'm just going to be that smug bastard who sits there and be like, oh, John, it's a real shame. I'm so sorry to hear that. Rather than being an absolute like you pair are.
I can't help it. It's just... This is still on the road.
It's just because you boys have got no taste. That's what it is.
Oh, my God.
Come on then, Johnny. Let's get on to yours. Okay, we'll come back to John. Ben, let's go through
It
your
was
cars.
barely on the road.
Talking about barely on the road. I did 60,000 miles in that car. Barely on the road, you cheeky fuck. I'm so glad we've done this segment. This is a good chance for everyone to laugh at me. Terrific. Ben, crack on. John's gone.
Right, I had a Fiesta, a 1.1. I'm not quite sure what model it was.
Was it a Meridian?
It wasn't. It might have been like a LX or something, I think. I seem to
it
remember
Channel 5?
looking at it, and I seem to remember looking through the manual and realising that I had a high-spec model because it had a digital clock.
You had a choke, didn't you?
Maybe, yeah.
That's a yes.
Yeah, choke was useful. It also had a spoiler, which was amazing. A tiny little thing that somebody had retrofitted, I think. It basically made it like a shopping trolley, which was awesome. So, yeah, that was my first car. My next car was a Peugeot 106, a little diesel, which was pretty slow and crap. They were quite fun, really. But
Why did you choose a diesel, Ben?
I chose a diesel because it was a diesel. To be honest with you, I just like the look of it.
Such a commuter's comment, isn't it, John?
And it turned out to be diesel. Yeah.
He tried to start it with his Oyster card.
And then after that, none of the other cars you've actually owned, have you, Ben?
Well, that's mean.
He does own a woman, though, King. That counts, doesn't it?
I've told you before, John. It doesn't work like that.
But if you marry a woman, you get all her stuff, don't you?
No. This is why you're single.
So the other cars.
So yeah, what other cars have you
been
passengering in?
Passengering with my wife being the legal owner of some of these, yeah. So we had a Rover 214 for a few months.
Wonderful car.
That was after I scrapped my 106 and Emma's car was still running for a little bit longer before we upgraded them.
Did she have the head gasket done?
No, but it actually only done about 40,000 miles in like many, many years, so it had hardly been used.
Really. I could have taken that off your hands.
Yeah, you could have. No, I think the head gasket was probably close to going, so we just thought we'd get rid. And then we got ourselves a Golf Mark 6 with that for a few years, and then it gets more exciting, King. Then we got a Golf Mark 7. Which is fun. Nice and reliable. Nothing fell off it.
Was it a GTI?
Maybe not, no. TSI.
Oh, it wasn't diesel?
No, not a diesel.
Oh, because it's Emma's car, not yours. Okay, yeah.
And then I came about with acquiring a Unos Roadster.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Yes, this is woken things up. That's actually yours. That's actually in your name, isn't it?
That actually is in my name, but it's not road legal, so I can't drive it.
So Ben's third car,
yeah,
which is less reliable than my Alpha 145 was.
And that is remarkable.
That is remarkable.
Although the MX-5 can be repaired for relatively small amounts of money, whereas anything with an Italian badge, you have to times everything by 10.
Anyway.
And then our latest car, we've just bought a Mazda 3.
Hooray! Broken the Golf jinx.
Yeah. Just wanted something other than a Golf, to be honest. So, there we go. Nothing wrong with the Golf, just a bit dull when you've had one for like 6 years.
I imagine Emma's feeling the same way around about now, Ben.
Well, she's been...
Yeah, how long have you been together?
Stuck with me for 10 years, so... You know.
Oh, Christ.
She's accepted her fate.
So I'm quite looking forward to seeing what the Mazda 3's like, actually.
It's nice, actually. I'm quite enjoying it so far. So, Jonny, your cars.
I've composed myself now, so...
Good.
That was hilarious. So anyway, my first car was a Peugeot 106 as well, but it was a 1.4 petrol Quicksilver edition, lowered on Wolf Race alloys, and it was great fun. But it was also shit. But most Peugeot 106s are, so great fun mixed with shit. Peugeot 106. The next car after that was my Audi TT Mark 1 1.8 Quattro, which was the car they used in the film About a Boy. And I had a certificate that said it was from the film and stuff, and it had been acquired and been given away in newspapers and stuff, and then eventually found its way to a dealership in somewhere. Then it ended up with me. Really good car.
To be fair, that's pretty cool when you think about it.
Yeah, it was.
Someone's gone to the effort to knock up a certificate because they've seen you coming, and they've gone, "Oh yeah, this is definitely from that film, mate. Yeah, definitely. Yeah." No, that's why it's $3,000 more than a standard one, because it's in the film. And you've just gone like, "Oh really? Is it? Oh brilliant. Oh thanks. Yeah, sign me up. Do you take this 106 as part exchange? Nah, mate, don't touch that shit. Only buy movie cars."
King is very jealous because Rachel Weisz has sat in a car that I've owned, and Rachel Weisz would never ever go near one of King's cars, if one of King's cars could even make it to the destination where he had to pick her up from. So, hard times, King.
He's just trying to get his own back a bit here.
What did I own after that? I had a Skoda Fabia VRS, a new one, with the 1.4 turbo and supercharged engine, which basically was an oil drinking machine. I'd have to put like a litre in every month, something like that. It was mad.
It was good though.
It was good, yeah. It was really good fun. It made a nice little fruity noise, and it was fast and it was comfortable. Quite underrated car, I think, the Fabia VRS, actually. I thought it was really good.
It had flappy paddles as well, didn't it?
Yeah, it had a DSG flappy paddle box. It wasn't the best because sometimes when you put it in reverse, it would just jump forward, or jump backwards, actually, 2 or 3 metres, because sometimes Volkswagen's DSG boxes are a bit dodgy. And then I went to the Goodwood show one year, and they announced the Octavia VRS there. So I went back to the dealer and said, "Can I have an Octavia VRS instead?" And I had the first Octavia VRS in North Devon at the time. So I got a really good deal on it because they actually wanted to order one in. So I got quite a good deal on that and drove it around for a bit. And then I hurt my back big time, so that had to go.
Didn't you have a special colour?
Yeah, I had it in meteor grey with black trim, so it looked a little bit...
It looked lovely,
yeah,
to be fair.
It was a really, really good car, that. I always regretted having to get rid of that because it was... I hadn't had it for very long, and it was a really, really good car. And then I had a Mercedes ML350 for 3 days before we discovered the ECU was completely fried and it had no idea what it was doing, and it just died because someone had tried to jump start it. Apparently you can't do that with Mercedes because it just fries the computer, so it needed a whole new computer system and stuff. So that was a no. Then I had a BMW 3 Series petrol. That was good car. Travelled all over the country in that. And now I've got my Abarth 695 XSR, which you may have seen on the Smooth Traffic YouTube channel.
I think you've missed a car, John.
Oh yeah, I had the Unos Roadster as well. Before doing a rugby pass of it to Ben sideways. So I've definitely had the best cars in Smooth Traffic, but then again I've definitely paid the most for those cars as well. Get what you pay for, don't you, I suppose? Basically, the Smooth Traffic garage should all be my cars, because definitely they're the best.
So, King, you're pretty attached to the Alpha 145, so I suppose you want to keep that one in it.
It's the only car of mine that I'd want in the garage. And I very much enjoy my Mito. I would go as far as to say I love my Mito. But the 145 is the only one that I would physically fight you both for to get in the garage. And I could definitely beat John, because you just need a swift jab to... the right disc on his back and he's down and out for the count. So, and I'd like to think that we could just settle it like gentlemen, Ben.
Yeah, I'd be happy for you to have a car in there because then we can mock you for it falling apart.
Yeah, precisely. There you go.
I think the Unos should go in as well, being the only. Actually, no, it's not the only sort of 2-seater, is it? Because the TT was. No, that did have back seats. I remember I sat in the back seat of that once.
Back seats for people who don't have legs
or a neck.
Or a neck. Yeah, it's for people with just torsos.
If you stop at the shoulders, you fit. But yeah, what would you have? A working Unos or the TT? I think the Unos, roof down, more fun.
I don't know. What do you think, King? Because the TT isn't all that great to drive, but it was kind of special.
I quite like the interior.
I think since we're going for a 5-car garage, I think it's fair to say that the Unos should go in there as it's kind of our project car anyway.
Yeah.
So that's one space. That's all of us. I think we should each pick one of our own to go in, and then we have the 5th one, which we pick from the set. So I say the Unos goes in. For me, it's the 145. Ben?
What would I put? I don't know.
We'll come back to you, Ben.
Yeah.
John, which of yours? You don't have to think about how it would affect the general selection of the garage. It's just which of yours would you pick as the one and only car?
Oh, it's tricky. I think it's probably between my TT and my Abarth, because my Abarth's quite special, I think, as well.
Which one would hurt your back more?
Yeah, the Abarth. So yeah, the Audi TT. It's been in a film. Rachel Weisz has sat in it. It was cool. It was 4-wheel drive, and the original TT's kind of a bit of a styling icon, I would say now. Quite a classic design. So yeah, I'll go for my Audi TT.
Ben?
So I've got a lot of love for the Fiesta. That was trustworthy.
King, why don't we ask his missus? Might be easier.
I actually think if I would go for the Mazda 3. It's quite good fun. It's nippy enough.
I haven't driven a Golf, but everyone knows what a Golf's like. Well, I've driven the e-Golf, so I got a rough idea. I've never driven a 106, so I couldn't comment. But of those,
the 106 was slow.
I'd probably pick the Mazda 3 if I was picking one of yours. Although, to be fair, having a Fiesta as a first car was like a rite of passage.
Yeah, it was a great car. I mean, it had all sorts of problems with. I mean, to be fair, it cost me nothing over like 3 or 4 years. I think I spent about 40 quid on the MOTs in total.
Yeah,
but it did have like leaky roof and stuff like that. So the passenger seat had a swimming pool in it for sort of the last 6 months I owned it, and the lights were knackered because there was a problem with the fuses.
My 106 had a puddle in the accelerator area. Pedal box.
The accelerator area.
Yeah, there was always a puddle in there.
In terms of love for a car, I'd probably go for the Fiesta, but in terms of actually fun to drive and everything else, I think the Mazda's winning it so far. But we've only done about 700 miles in it, so I'll let you know when we've done more.
Well, King, me and you, we like the CX-3, don't we?
Yes.
Because we thought that was really good, so the 3 should handle us a little bit better than the CX-3, really.
Yeah, and the 3 looks a lot better now. If you think what the 3 used to look like, it.
Oh, the old Mazdas looked awful, but the modern range I think are quite smart.
Mm.
But no, the Mazda 3 handles really nicely because it's quite a firm ride, but not overly. It's quite comfortable, but quite sporty. Yeah, it's nice.
So what have we got then, chaps? We've got King's
145, your TT, Ben's Mazda 3.
Yeah, and the Unos.
The Unos.
So then we've got to pick one more. I'll make a suggestion.
Go on then.
I'd have your Octavia, John.
Yeah, I could go along with that, actually, because that is a very, very good car.
It offers the practicality that none of the other cars that we've got in there do.
That's true. Yeah, I'd go with the Octavia.
Although that wasn't the reason. I really liked that car when you had it. It was a shame that you crippled yourself and therefore had to get rid of it.
Yeah, it was smart, it was fast, it was,
almost sensible.
Quite sensible, yeah. Not too expensive, and probably quite reliable as well in the long run.
I'd go with that. Done.
So, our very own smooth traffic car garage then. We've got the Unos, which is the smooth traffic car. King's Alpha 145, which never saw tarmac. My Audi TT,
which never saw a film set. It saw Rachel Weisz's backside though. Ben's, what did you pick, Ben?
Mazda 3.
Mazda 3. And we've got the overall selection, which is the Octavia VRS, which was taken from us far too soon.
And then in a secret garage down the road, we've got an old 106 and an old Fiesta. Just for old time's sake.
Leaking.
So, as you well know, if you've ever listened to the podcast or watched any of our food challenges on YouTube, I like food. And I'm always open to new ways and new experiences when it comes to food. And Jonny Edge has told me that he has perfected one of the classic British dishes. So, John, because you haven't told me yet, so I'm quite excited to learn what this is. Would you like to share with the world how you've improved the Sunday roast?
Yes, I would be honoured. There's always been something missing from a roast dinner.
Sausages.
No, you get sausages.
You get pigs in blankets.
Yeah. But there's always been something missing. The end of the dinner is just... you feel like something's gone missing. And the other day, I had a microwavable roast dinner.
What?
Yep.
That's not a roast dinner.
No.
Nope.
That's a microwave dinner.
But it gave me the opportunity to experiment. An experiment I did, because I have discovered the missing object from the roast dinner. Toast.
What?
Toast.
It's
That's a load of
toast.
nonsense. You talk a lot of crap on this podcast, Johnny, but that's taking the piss.
No, it's definitely brilliant. It improves the roast dinner no end. Because it's not the actual slices from the middle you want. What you want is like the crusty bit on the end. The first or last slice. Toast one of them up, put a bit of butter on it. That just caps off a roast dinner beautifully. You can use it to soak up gravy. It goes well with potato. It goes well with beef or turkey or whatever it is you have with it. It's a nice empty piece of paper to put other flavours into and just experience the roast in a whole new way. And I'm surprised nobody's thought of it yet, because it makes perfect sense.
So you want roast on toast?
Exactly. I want toast with my roast. So next time I have a roast somewhere, I'm going to ask, can I have some toast with that? Not the middle bits, one of the ends bit. Can I have the end of a loaf of bread toasted to go with my roast?
They'll throw you out.
I'd like to see the pub or restaurant that would give you the end slice from a loaf of bread, because I'm pretty confident that they'll knock those aside to begin with, because that's not for... They'll say that's not for customer consumption.
Maybe I can ring up in advance and ask them. But honestly, it works incredibly well. And that is what I think is the missing ingredient from roast. Now, admittedly, I did experiment using a microwavable roast dinner. That went slightly wrong. And I say slightly wrong because the Yorkshire pudding ended up rock hard. So hard, I couldn't actually break it with my hands.
So hard it was like toast.
No, Ben, when you do toast properly, it's soft and fluffy in the middle and slightly crunchy and burned on the outside.
I thought you were going to say soft and fluffy. You were telling me that you'd been microwaving bread.
Yeah.
That's not toast, Johnny. That's just warm, soggy
Ooh,
bread.
2 minutes in the microwave. Toast.
So yeah, I mean, probably when we're looking back on Smooth Traffic in 100 episodes time or something, this will not be one of the episodes that comes out as being a classic, because I've talked about dog poo, and now I've talked about adding toast to a roast, and people, I'm a bit of a maverick. People don't want that kind of stuff. They don't want to listen to that kind of stuff. They don't want to know about where white poo comes from or whether they should have toast with their roast. But you know what? They should. And in 50 years' time, when everybody's having toast with their roast, people will look back in the archives of podcasts, because I'm sure that this podcast will go into some kind of archive in human history, and they'll discover that sometime in 2018 in spring, a young man with an incredibly good reputation for talking absolute sense at all times came up with the toast with the roast, and that's where the craze began. Because things can't stay the same. Things have to change at some point. So have a slice of toast with your roast for good old Jonny, and raise your glasses or your toast to that brilliant idea that I've had. You will not regret it.
That'll be filed in that archive under things you shouldn't do on a podcast, or how not to do a podcast, or why John was a detriment to society. And I'm confident that will be quite a healthy genre.
Next time we go for a roast, we're having some toast.
Hang on, whoa. I'm not... The concept of it is abhorrent to me, I won't lie. But in the interests of expanding my own palate, I'm prepared to try it, John.
Yes.
Because that's what reasonable human beings do.
Yes.
And then, when I prove that it's shit, then I will tear you apart for it. But until that point,
you can't go into
I
it
will
with that
go in
mindset.
with an open mind.
Yeah.
So,
Honestly,
going to
you'll-
conduct a field test and report back.
Yes.
Go in with an open mind. You'll be pleasantly surprised by what toast can bring to a roast.
I mean, possibly neither of you do this, but at the end of a roast, obviously if you've got gravy left, I do like to have a bit of bread just to mop up the gravy. So it's not that dissimilar, except you've toasted the bread and you've specifically used the end of the loaf.
A little bit of butter with it as well.
Do you ever have bread with a roast, Ben? Just to
personally not
for mopping up, or? But can you understand the logic behind it?
Yeah, I'm not a massive gravy person, so that's why I have a dab of gravy, but nothing major. Not a swimming in gravy kind of guy. So no, I get the logic of a bit of bread, but not toast.
Because the butter just goes well with obviously the roast potatoes and the vegetables as well. So you've got that little bit of element there. You've got the bread, which is good for soaking up the gravy.
You're just adding more starch, though, aren't you? That's the thing.
Also, you keep talking about these things that aren't the end of the roast. You know, you're not mopping up the gravy. You're eating vegetables and potatoes with it.
Yeah, no, I was talking about just mopping up with bread, because that's how I would use it.
Yeah, but when you've got a slice of nice buttered toast, it has to be good quality toast as well. I'm not talking about shit toast here.
It's just like, think of a brand.
I'm talking proper toast, the end of a loaf. Toast that, put a bit of butter on it. Honestly, it works really, really well. It makes a roast better.
Have you tried this with a proper roast, though? Because I think that the first field test needs to be you trying it with a proper roast rather than with a microwavable meal. And I'm not knocking microwavable meals. As a single man, I eat a shit ton of them, but I've never had a microwavable roast on account of the fact that is heresy.
Well, next time we get together, we'll go for a roast and we'll have some toast.
Okay, I'm willing to try it.
In the future, people will be going, I'll have a roasted toast, please.
I mean, I can see that catching on, John. I really can.
Yeah.
You know, when they start giving away a free bottle of champagne with every roast.
Oh, imagine that.
Don't forget to toast your roast. There's a Valentine's Day thing waiting to happen. I'm like fucking Hallmark.
Ooh, guess what, chaps?
You've got wind.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're having another bowel movement.
Not today.
Colonoscopy really played up with you, didn't it?
It really did. We've had another fax where we have received a fax and we attempt to answer a listener's question because the listeners mysteriously know our fax number and keep faxing us dilemmatical questions. How's that?
Which is impressive because we don't know the fax number.
So here we are in a segment we like to call Get Your Fucking Facts Right. Fax machines are the cockroaches of technology.
So what's on the fax machine today then, John? I'm guessing you've picked it up.
So the question is, would you rather randomly time travel 20 years into the past or the future every time you fart, or teleport to a different place in the world every time you sneeze?
So you've got absolutely no control over whether it's forward or backwards 20 years every time you fart?
I don't think you do, but I would love to see what would happen if you had the kind of velocity that I did the other day, because I think that could potentially increase the distance of time travel. But I mean, we haven't got any scientific basis to base this on, and we can't experiment with it. But I just like to think that a particularly vicious one would send you further into the past or the future.
Okay, I mean, I have several questions about this. First and foremost, what would happen if you have a cluster of farts? I mean, are we talking about, we're talking sort of bam, 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 bam. Are you then suddenly jumping? Is it still random each time? Is it like maybe 20 years forward, then another 20 years forward, then 20 years back, then 20 years forward again?
You just flash in and out of time when that happens. Like, you just sort of exist in sort of the ether of time. So many questions, this one. This is a fascinating question. One of our listeners is clearly very, very well educated.
You say that. It's in keeping with most of the other topics that we've discussed in this episode, so, let's not pitch them in too high.
Episode 45 will forever be known as the poo episode.
My second question, then, would be if... I don't know why I'm asking this. This is all hypothetical, obviously. There's no definitive answer. If you have a fart where you happen to follow through...
Yeah.
i.e.
Is this a problem for
you shit yourself...
Yep.
And I'm sure you can help me with this, John, because I'm sure you've got plenty of experience in this area.
I did nearly shit myself in Paris once.
See, if that happens, when you time travel, do you leave the poo where you were, or does the poo travel with you as well?
I'm going to say yes. I think you leave it where you are, and that becomes known as a stain on time.
Time stain.
Time stain.
But if that's in your pants, then does that mean you lose your pants as well?
Oh.
Would you be time travelling naked? Because that's a problem.
Yeah, I don't think clothes
Is
can
it?
time travel.
It is a problem, because what if you did a ripple fart and you ended up a few hundred years in the future and, climate change has buggered everything up and it's cold?
Or worse, there's nothing there.
You could warm yourself up by farting again, and hopefully you don't end up in a desert, because then it's quite hard to, cool down by farting, isn't it?
Yeah, but you wouldn't be able to cool down by it, because every time you fart, you jump time again, so it'd be irrelevant.
True. So the choice is between time travel every time you fart, or
Teleporting every time you
teleport
sneeze.
to a random place on Earth, on land. You don't have to worry about
Now,
it.
my issue with that... Oh, okay, that's not too bad. But my issue with that is, if you're a hay fever sufferer, as some of us are, certain times of the year, you're going to be all over the shop.
Yeah.
So, King, you have a terrible diet of microwave meals, so you'll fart a lot, and you suffer from hay fever, so actually, it's quite dangerous.
My issue with the sneezing one is that if you sneeze and you end up... Say I sneeze and end up in Tokyo, for instance. Very convenient. I'd love to go to Japan. That would be wonderful.
Yeah, it would be
But
nice,
then,
wouldn't it?
do I then book a flight back? Or do I just wait until I sneeze again to
Because
see if
it's
that
you,
takes
King,
me
you
closer?
wouldn't want to spend the money on a flight back, so you just try and make yourself sneeze again. You'd be getting Japanese people to put pepper under your nose.
Oh, that's a really good point. Oh, definitely the sneezing thing. Definitely the sneezing thing, because there's a lot more control. You've got a lot more control over the sneezing. Although you don't necessarily know where you'll go, it's a lot easier to make yourself sneeze. Well, I suppose it's irrelevant with the farting in that respect, but no, definitely the sneezing for me. Because there's no... At least if I end up somewhere else, I've got a rough idea of what's going on, because it's still the present day. If I have some kind of cluster fart, which ends up bouncing me like 200 years forward, A, apparently I'm going to be naked, and B, I have no idea what the situation is in the world right then.
See, I love the idea of a fart just causing chaos.
It would help in the office scenario when someone farts and you
They
don't
just
know
disappear.
Who did it. Because you'd be like, who's that? Oh, he's gone. Johnny's gone. Must have been him. Thanks. He's left it here. He's left the smell behind. And shit.
Is that a time stain? Because presumably if this happened, it would be common knowledge that this was a condition. So things like
I
a
think
time
it's common
stain.
knowledge that you're a condition. No. Yeah, everyone would know what a time stain was, wouldn't they?
Yeah. Oh, look, a time stain. What would that do for dogs? You couldn't own a dog because dogs fart all the time.
No. We're not saying that this applies to everyone. We're just saying that this applies to you. Or me, or Ben. It's only a one-person thing. If everyone jumped time every time they farted, then it would just mess with...
Imagine trying to go to the shops. People would just be disappearing all the time. You couldn't run a business.
Society would collapse.
Society would collapse, basically, yeah.
Or would it?
No, it would. There'd be no point in doing anything. Because there's no point getting a job, because if you jump into the future and then you don't jump back again immediately, then you'd get fired anyway, because you're not turning up to your job. And no, that is not an excuse. Oh, sorry, I went into the future because I farted.
Yeah, but when you're there...
Sorry,
you
I
could be
missed the
productive,
last
couldn't
3
you?
weeks.
You could go in the future, and then when you come back, you could say to your boss, "Oh, just to let you know, you cock up the payroll in a few weeks' time, so make sure you change your password."
Of all the possible permutations of the future, Ben's choosing a payroll error.
I thought that was on King's level.
Yeah, don't knock payroll, John.
True.
If payroll didn't exist, you wouldn't get paid. Well, actually, no, you don't matter because you're not a proper employment person. But Ben and I wouldn't get paid if there was no payroll.
Yeah, I like the chaos of the farting time travel. I don't care that humankind would struggle to exist in a world full of farting time travelers. I like the randomness, and actually, I think it would be a great movie plot.
It would be a good
Call
movie
it The Winds
plot
of Time.
Oh, well played. I'll give you that. That's some top work, John.
That is the high point of this episode, isn't it?
Yeah.
Says a lot.
I'm still taking the sneezing, personally. But you go for it with your Winds of Time.
Winds of Time.
You enjoy yourself.
Ben, what are you going to choose? Sneezy porting?
Yeah, I'd go for sneezing as well. You get to see the world. And I don't sneeze very often, so it should be on my terms, largely. I usually have a sneeze a few times when I pull hairs out my nose. That's usually the way.
Oh, yeah, that's a bastard.
Oh, isn't that just the worst thing about getting older?
Or just hair.
Just the fucking paintbrushes that start to grow out your nose.
I know, why don't they start regrowing on me fucking head? That'd be far more helpful.
It is bizarre, isn't it? So there we go, listener. Our answer by 2-1 is apparently sneezing. We would rather sneeze and teleport to a different place on Earth than fart and travel through time.
Although if this did happen, I would be prepared to let you time travel with the farts, John.
Yeah.
I'd be prepared to change my vote just so that you and only you could have that skill.
I'd be a great superhero then. Well, no, I wouldn't actually be useless.
You wouldn't be a superhero.
Oh
no, there's trouble. You're there thinking, come on, brew one up, I need to get out of here.
He shit himself again.
I don't like what's happening in the present. I'm going to go and take a walk.
That's an interesting point. I can't believe I'm getting into this. Would a regular bowel movement count as a fart?
Time stain.
No, because that's not following through. That if you just shit yourself.
But there is often some gas with poo, isn't there?
Yeah, that's my point. Just in terms of a regular bowel movement.
I think yeah.
Does flatulence naturally occur?
Yeah, it does. It does, and that means time stain. I've almost got the film written here. I've got the title. I've got certain aspects.
I mean, I'm now thinking that it should be called Time Stain.
Opening scene, panning across a field of cows as they all disappear.
Time Stain, that's what all the reviewers will use to describe the film. That hour and a half was a time stain on my life.
No, I reckon the opening scene should be like someone just walking down the street in like a city, and all of a sudden just vanishing.
And all you hear is a...
But it echoes as well through time. So an echoing fart through time, and then he lands back in he's in the same place, but obviously it's then like 1979 or something. It's like, what's going on?
To be fair, a good thing to do would be to have them disappear and then reappear again in exactly the same spot. And then people would be like, this is interesting. Let's see where this film goes.
Yeah.
So they appear. And then everyone will be like, did you just fart? That guy just appeared.
Yeah, because that is literally just the prologue to the film. That guy doesn't even have to be in it. He can just be a guy who's got it.
Maybe the voiceover. The first recorded case was back in 2004. Man farted himself back 30 years. And then in the future there can be like a whole tourist industry about sweets that make you fart to help people who want to time travel.
Or broccoli.
Time broccoli.
I suppose there would probably be studies, wouldn't there? Scientists would carry out studies to see what kinds of food would generate a forward jump and what would generate a backward jump, just to see if they could figure out time travel.
Yeah, and the KGB would be trying to send their agents farting back into the past to try and win the Cold War. It'd be amazing. What a fantastic film this would be.
Your film has written itself.
Oh, you know, sometimes I wish I was talented because I could really make something like that work.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you could. Maybe a
Time Stain.
Maybe a short film.
Could we have Arnold Schwarzenegger in it?
I mean, I don't think he'd be interested in the project at this time. If you produce a short movie, if you produce a short film, you know, sort of 15-20 minutes long, and then show it to Arnold, you know, maybe he'll say, "Oh yeah, I want to be in that. I want to be in a feature-length version of that." And obviously, we know then that we'll have to have him sectioned because he's clearly gone mad.
I don't think we can add any more to this, can we? This has just been one of those classic Smooth Traffic segments, and this is exactly why you listen and subscribe to this podcast.
That seems offensive to people for some reason. In my mind, that seems offensive. This is why you listen.
You want to hear about Time Stain the movie? They do, don't they? Right?
I fear not.
So there we are, folding up the episode like a tablecloth at the end of a picnic.
He paints such a vivid picture.
Oh yeah, we've covered piss, poo, stains on times, and roast dinners. And that's exactly why you love this podcast. So until next time, do the subscribe thing, do the like thing, do the things that we tell you to do on all the other episodes. And yeah, we'll see you next time. Bye.